File items 50 through 56, pass and retain. File item 57, it's SB 175 for the purpose of amendments. Clerk will read with amendments.
Senate Bill 175 with amendments by Assemblymember Lackey.
Mr. Lackey, you may open on the amendments.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, members, I rise to present amendments for Senate Bill 175, which requires certain provisions for law enforcement agencies that elect to use body cameras. These amendments were closely negotiated with local and state law enforcement agencies and other policy consultants with both houses to be consistent with current collective bargaining laws, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Seeing no discussion or debate on the amendments, without objection, we may take a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. Bill is out to print and back on file. File items 58 through 63, pass and retain. Moving to file item 64, that's SB 110 for the purpose of amendment. The clerk will read with amendments.
Senate Bill 110 with amendments by Assemblymember Waldron.
Ms. Waldron, you may open on the amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Amendments to SB 110 add recommended language to align SB 456 block as they both address threats on school and college campuses or related activities. Amendments also remove some concerns raised by the opposition. I respectfully ask your aye vote.
Seeing no discussion or debate on the amendments, we may take a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Amendments are adopted. Bill is out to print and back on file. File item 65, pass and retain. File item 66, that's SB 141. Clerk will read.
Senate Bill 141 by Senator McGuire and others, enacting a tide and submerged lands.
Dr. Wood, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. SB 141 is a district bill that clarifies ambiguity in existing code regarding the Humboldt Bay Harbor Recreation and Conservation District's ability to sell after acquired lands. The district is a trustee of legislatively granted tide and submerged lands. As a trustee, the district is allowed to use revenue generated from its trust lands to purchase and dispose of after acquired lands. A provision in the district's granting statute prevents them from transferring irrevocable grants of fee title. This was intended to clarify that the district did not have the authority to sell sovereign tide and submerged lands. However, the restriction already exists, not only in the state constitution, but in common law as well. Removing the provision specific to the transfer of irrevocable grants of fee title as it relates to after acquired land will provide much needed clarity as to the district's authority. This will benefit the district by clarifying it can use the funds resulting from the sale of after acquired lands to reinvest that revenue for the administration and improvement of its trust lands for the statewide public's use and enjoyment. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Seeing no additional discussion on this item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 47, noes 22. Measure passes. File items 67 and 68, pass and retain. Moving to file item 69, that's SB 492. The clerk will read.
Senate Bill 492 by Senator Liu and others, enacting to Medi-Cal.
Ms. Brown, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. AB 492 requires the Department of Health Care Services to create a consumer-friendly informational guide for enrollees of the Coordinated Care Initiative, CCI, that informs beneficiaries of their rights and services. Individuals in the Coordinated Care Initiative are California's most vulnerable populations, low-income seniors, persons with disabilities, suffering from a constellation of chronic and long-term health issues. Many participants don't know their rights, their options, or even how to access resources. Without this information, they and their families are unable to make informed decisions about their care and often go without. That places them at risk for more intense and more expensive care down the road. This bill originated from recommendations out of the Senate Select Committee on Aging and Long-Term Care, and that recent report was A Shattered System. As chair of the Assembly Aging and Long-Term Care Committee, I have been collaborating with Senator Lieu and many of you, and I strongly urge your support to assure better coordinated services, a hallmark of efficiency and cost containment. So on behalf of 1.1 million low-income seniors and people with disabilities, I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Seeing no discussion on this item, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 65, noes 3. Measure passes. File items 70 through 72 pass and retain. We are moving to file item 73, that's SB 419, for the purpose of amendments. Clerk will read with amendments.
Senate Bill 419 with amendments by Assemblymember Chow.
Mr. Chow, you may open on the amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Today I'm presenting amendments to SB 419 by Senator McGuire. The amendments would allow the seller of a mobile home to advertise and host an open house only if permissible by the park, and would allow management to place appropriate limitation to maintain the character of their individual community. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chow. Without objection, we may take a voice vote on the amendments. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. Bill is out to print and back on file. Moving briefly back to motions and resolutions. Mr. Holden, you are recognized for your procedural motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request unanimous consent to suspend Assembly Rule 56 and Joint Rule 62A, the file notice requirements, and allow the Appropriations Committee to notice and to hear Assembly Bill 199 Eggman at 8 a.m. on Wednesday, August 19, 2015, in room 4202.
Without objection, the request is granted. Moving to consent calendar. Does any member wish to remove an item from the consent calendar? Seeing and hearing none, the clerk will read the second day consent calendar.
House Resolution 26 by Assemblymember Lowe relative to the Department of Managed Health Care.
The clerk will open the roll on the consent calendar. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 76, no 0. The consent calendar is adopted. The clerk will read the remaining bills on the second day consent calendar.
Assembly Concurrent Resolution 86.
Ayes 76, no 0.
Assembly Concurrent Resolution 88.
Ayes 76, no 0.
Assembly Concurrent Resolution 89.
Ayes 76, no 0.
And Senate Joint Resolution 8.
Ayes 76, no 0. Members, we are moving to announcements and adjournments in memory. The following members have been granted prior permission to speak on an adjournment in memory. Mr. Quirk, you are recognized at your desk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask that this body adjourn in the memory of Deputy Fire Chief Jim Martin. Chief Martin lost his battle with cancer on July 24th. He was a veteran of the Fremont Fire Department in my district and Kansan Chu's district, and was a resident of Tracy and Miss Eggman's district. I attended his memorial along with Member Chu, and at the memorial we heard that he asked that his memorial reflect the joy that he and his fellow firefighters take in life. In particular, we heard many stories of practical jokes that he performed and practical jokes performed on him. In particular, he was going to his first meeting as the deputy chief. And while he was distracted, a fire member took his badge and turned it upside down. So he arrived at his first big meeting as deputy chief with his fire badge upside down. It's a story which he loved to hear and which all of us took some joy in at his memorial. He exemplified the true character of the brave men and women who run into fire when the rest of us run away. He was an honest, hardworking, and devoted leader of the Fremont Fire Department. He led the Firefighters Union for many years and was one of my earliest supporters. Those of us who were fortunate enough to have known him will miss him dearly. For that, I ask that we adjourn in the memory of Fire Deputy Chief Jim Martin.
Dr. Eggman, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also rise in memory of Jay Martin, who's a constituent of mine in Tracy. As Mr. Quirk so eloquently said, he passed away losing a lengthy battle to cancer. Members, he was just shy of his 30-year anniversary and most recently was the deputy fire chief for the Fremont Fire Department. He leaves behind his wife, Sandy Martin, their children, Mackenzie and Kyle, as well as his daughter, Allie Martin. Members, as we've all been engulfed with smoke all these last couple of weeks with the fires raging all around California, I think it serves special today that we recognize a firefighter who gave his entire career to keeping the rest of us safe, and I ask that we adjourn in his honor today.
Thank you, Dr. Eggman. Mr. Kansenchu, you are recognized from Mr. Quirk's desk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and member. I'd like to join in the memory of Deputy Fire Chief Jim Martin. Assembly Member Quirk and I attended his memorial service, and during the service I learned more about Chief Martin and throughout his 30-year service as a firefighter. Jim showed compassion, trust, and commitment to the people he served. Jim went above and beyond the call of duty and was a strong supporter of the Fremont Firefighters Local 1689. When we attended the memorial service, it was clear that Jim was well loved by his family and friends and well respected amongst his peers and co-workers. His leadership will be truly missed. Thank you.
Thank you, members. Mr. Frazier, you are recognized for your adjournment in memory.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I rise today to honor my constituent, fallen Hayward police officer Sergeant Scott Lunger of Brentwood, a 15-year veteran of the Hayward Police Department. Sergeant Lunger tragically lost his life in the line of duty during a routine traffic stop on July 22, 2015. Every day he committed himself to quality service and protecting the people of Hayward and mentoring his fellow officers to do the same. Hayward Police Chief Diane Urban referred to Sergeant Scott Lunger as a great leader who inspired people every day and as an ideal example of what law enforcement officers should be. As a father of two daughters, Ashton and Saralyn, he also served as the assistant girls varsity softball coach at Freedom High School in his hometown of Oakley. He spent his afternoons there with them after working the graveyard shift in Hayward each night. I actually went to the vigil on behalf of our office with the girls' softball team in Oakley and their candlelighting and their ability to recognize their coach. Sergeant Scott Lunger's loss to his family and friends in Brentwood, the Bay Area, and the Hayward Police Department, and to his beloved love, Jen Lee, and her sons, Trevor and Ethan, is immeasurable. He was a respected leader and an accomplished police officer who had a true passion for his profession. He was one of California and America's finest. Sergeant Scott Paul Lunger, you will never be forgotten.
Thank you, Mr. Frazier. Mr. Quirk, you are recognized from Mr. Frazier's desk.
Yes, Sergeant Lunger served in my district, and it's with a heavy heart that I ask this body to adjourn in the memory of Sergeant Scott Lunger. He was a veteran of the Hayward Police Department. He proudly protected Hayward and surroundings for over 15 years. He was a well-respected officer and selfless individual. He was a model for young officers. He was tactful, experienced, ethical, and smart. When he put on his uniform, he served the police department with the utmost pride. I was fortunate to call him a friend. I want to tell a little bit about an important organization in Alameda County called the Martin K. Kaufman 100 Club. In Alameda County, we have many members of that club. They all donate yearly to the club. I'm proud to be a lifetime member. The purpose is to give support to the family after an officer's death in the line of duty. In particular, we visited the children of Scott, 2 daughters who were in college. We gave them $10,000 check each and assured them that their education would be taken care of by the Martin K. Kaufman Society, the 100 Club. Being a police officer is a difficult and dangerous job. However, that doesn't make his passing any easier to cope with. Sergeant Scott Lunger will be missed by his family, friends, and colleagues. I ask that this body adjourn in the memory of Sergeant Scott Lunger.
Thank you, members. Mr. Hadley, you are recognized for your adjournment in memory.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to adjourn in the memory of Masao Takahashi, who is known as Mas to his friends, who passed away in Torrance on July 25th at the age of 90. Mas had an extraordinary life. At the start of World War II, he and his family were interned in Manzanar War Relocation Center, along with over 100,000 other Japanese Americans. After approximately a year of internment, he was drafted into the 100th Infantry Battalion and fought for our country as a rifleman in France and Italy. During his service, he received a Bronze Star Medal and Combat Infantryman Badge. After returning from service, Mr. Takahashi settled in Torrance, married his wife Elma, and had 4 children. After he retired, Mr. Takahashi dedicated his life to bringing awareness to the stories of the more than 16,000 Japanese Americans who fought in World War II through the Go for Broke National Education Center. The organization, which is headquartered in my district, aims to educate Americans about the hardship and discrimination Japanese Americans faced during and after the war. A student once asked him if he was bitter or upset about what the U.S. was doing to all Japanese Americans. He told that student, "Of course, it is saddening to see that injustice being taken place here, but I was more worried in protecting my country. I can only wish that I had such fortitude if I had been in that situation." Mas is survived by his wife Elma, his son Scott, and 3 daughters, Donna, Gail, and Teresa, as well as 2 grandchildren. I had the honor of attending his recent memorial service at the Gardena Buddhist Church, and it was overflowing with family, friends, and admirers. I ask that the Assembly adjourn in honor of this American hero.
Thank you, Mr. Hadley. Members, a couple of brief announcements. Mr. Gallagher, you are recognized for your announcement.
Members, I've been passing around a flyer, but I just wanted to make sure you all knew right after session today you are invited to attend a preview of Manufacturing Day on the east side of the Capitol by the pond. Starts at 1:30, will go until 3:30, I believe. This is a great opportunity to meet local manufacturers and educators to learn about their important work, and I would also encourage you all to participate in Manufacturing Day in your districts on October 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher. Members, both the Committee on Revenue and Taxation as well as Utilities and Commerce will meet 30 minutes after adjournment. Revenue and Taxation, 30 minutes upon adjournment, will meet in room 126. Utilities and Commerce will meet in room 437, 30 minutes after adjournment. All other items remaining will be passed and retained. All motions shall be continued. Seeing and hearing no further business, I am ready to entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Holden moves. Ms. Waldron seconds that this House stands adjourned until Thursday, August 20th at 9 a.m. Quorum call is lifted.